Oh, I've dropped the key.
Ah, bugger. What's up guys, welcome back to the channel, Jason here, and today we've got the Ford Ranger double cab on trial from Ford Bristol Street Motors in Worcester for a couple of days to see how a commercial vehicle goes in the hands of me, your professional content creator. So this is the 2.2 litre TDCI double cab Ranger Limited. Now the limited part is just the specification like you get with Titanium or Z-Tech or ST line for Ford. There's the super cab which has a massive back cab and a double cab which is not related to the cab, it's related to the back seats. But either way you end up with more legroom in the back and more space, but it does sacrifice that of the storage area in the cab. So this review is going to be my personal review of a personal car that is a commercial vehicle instead of a commercial review of the vehicle. So I'm not going to be towing anything because I've got absolutely no idea what I'm doing with towing. I think the last time I towed was 2009, so nearly a decade ago, so we'll keep away from that. And basically this is going to be my review on whether or not it's worth having as an everyday car. So a lot of people that have these sort of vehicles go to them after having, say, a Transit Connect as a second vehicle and a smaller car, so that they've got a practical car for the family as well as something to lug stuff around in. I can't really see why this isn't a good option for that, to be honest. Instead of running two vehicles, 2 times the MOTs and services, insurance and running costs, put it all into one vehicle. So I'm going to cut to do a little walk around so you guys can see what's going on while I talk about the features in the car. We've got the copper red paint, which is a factory cost option, the 17-inch alloy wheels and chrome surround wing grille and chrome finished steel rear step bumpers. There's a light tint on the rear windows and privacy glass as well. We've also got the door mirrors with puddle lights, which is quite handy if you're trying to get in and out in muddy areas at night to see what you're going to step into. There's also a rear parking distance sensor kit on this car, which is handy for something this size. Doesn't come with the camera. The camera is an optional extra you can put on, however, but to be honest with the parking sensors, that's pretty much all I think you need. Internally, we've got the Sync 3 sat nav. We've also got a cool box, dual zone climate control, DAB, CD, Sync 3, 8-inch touchscreen and Bluetooth as you would expect, premium carpet floor mats and leather seat trim, which is quite a nice feature. Let's stick this in here. There we go. Right, let's get going. There we go. Sticker in forward, trying to get up here. Yes, I know we're running out of fuel. Did I put the camera mount in? Don't want to run over the camera mount, do I? So a little bit of history for you guys on the Ford Ranger name itself. So the name was given to various Ford vehicles in 1958 onwards. It was only in 1983 that the Ranger actually got given to a model range. The Ford Ranger as we know it today, however, came into production to replace the Ford Courier that was produced from 1972 to 1982. And from 2006 to date, any small Ford truck has been given the Ranger name, which makes things a little bit simpler. So the current Ford Ranger that you see on the road and in production today has been designed by Ford Australia, and it is the T6 variant, and that has been from 2011 onwards. So there are 5 manufacturing plants that make the Ford Ranger at the moment. That's bloody bright. So there are 5 plants that make the Ford Ranger at the moment, and that's Argentina, Thailand, Vietnam, South Africa and Michigan, America. Onto the drivetrain and gearboxes now. So this model is the 2.2 TDCI, as I said in the intro, which is a 4-cylinder diesel. They also do a 3.2 litre straight 6 diesel option, which both come in a manual or automatic configuration. This particular model is the auto, and the gearbox is superb, to be honest. It's impressive considering it's a commercial vehicle that has the ability to tow significant amounts of weight at 3.5 ton limit. It doesn't feel like it's geared that way. The only thing you get that gives it a hint that it is still a commercial vehicle is the noise upon pull-off. So when you're driving normally and you're up to sort of 30 mile an hour upwards, not a problem at all, but that initial pull-off, there's a lot of revs. I'm assuming that's because the gearing ratio is to allow for a lot of torque low down, so you get an awful lot of revs for the first 2 or 3 gears to get you off, but once you're up above 30 mile an hour, it's pretty damn quiet, to be honest with you. It doesn't make an awful lot of noise, which is quite nice. The wind noise is great inside as well, considering it is a big car and those massive tyres. There's no real road noise from the tyres, and there's minimal wind noise whilst driving at normal motorway sort of speed, so that's impressive. They've done well there. There are varying final drive ratio options depending on what you're after and what kind of vehicle you want. So I'm not going to pretend to know anything about final drive ratios, but if you go onto the configurator, you can see it gives you a 3.2 turbo diesel auto and manual option, as well as a 2.2 turbo diesel auto manual option with different final drive ratio choices. So if you're looking for one of these for commercial work, you'll know more about that than I will, and the dealerships will obviously help you choose the correct FDR. On the note of this being a commercial vehicle, something that caught me out the other day that made me laugh is the wing mirrors. The wing mirrors in this are gargantuan, and that is not a bad thing. I'm saying that as a compliment. mainly stick with us with this one because it's going to make sense. So the wing mirrors being so big are great because it allows you when you're reversing to get an awful lot of visibility, which is exactly what you need in a vehicle like this. You want to be able to see what you're about to hit, especially if you're like me and you can't reverse for shit. But the thing that got me with it is you're driving this vehicle with quite a nice dash and interior, and the ride comfort's really good. You sort of forget you're driving a pickup. I mean, yes, it's a big off-road vehicle, but the ride comfort and the way it drives makes you forget you're in a pickup truck. It's also quite comfortable on long journeys, which I didn't think it would be. There's a nice armrest on the inside for you to put your hand on and hold onto the wheel with. So when you're doing your long miles, you do forget that you're driving a pickup truck, and then when you go to do your pull-out checks, you're like, whoa, where do these wing mirrors come from? So it does catch you out a little bit. So Ford have done such a good job on the suspension with this. It's firm, so you don't feel like you're wallowing around, which is something I cannot stand in big vehicles. Just because it's big and it's got loads of suspension travel, there's no need for it to handle like a boat, something I do not like at all. And Ford have managed to negate that completely. Even with no weight over the rear end, because it is a pickup truck, it still feels really stable, well put together, and a comfortable car that you could genuinely use day to day without getting annoyed and thinking, I probably should have bought an Edge or I should have bought a Cougar. You will feel quite You will feel quite comfortable in this car, and the miles are easy to cover with this engine. It's a little bit noisy, as I said earlier on, lower down when it's pulling off, but motorway miles, it's absolutely fine. It's a bloody comfortable car. On the note of this being a commercial vehicle, the trim. Now, a lot of people have sort of complained about the trim on this car and said, oh, it's not very good, it's a bit tacky, it's a bit cheap. Now, it is still a commercial vehicle, so they want to make all the materials long-lasting and hard-wearing, but they also want to make the car look nice. So it's not a Mercedes GL, look at me, I'm an off-roader with lots of bling. It's a pickup truck, so you're going to have to expect things to be a little bit more hard-wearing and less luxurious. Like the wheel looks like it's been lifted from a 2008 Mondeo. It's about as chunky as it gets, and some of the plastics are a bit hard, but you want it hard wearing, because if you are using this car as a commercial vehicle, or you're using it to load up gardening equipment or take camping equipment out with you, it's going to get knocked and banged about, so you want it to last. So there is a compromise and a balance between having luxurious leather interior. I mean, this has got leather interior, but not beautifully Alcantara 50-50 stitched leather seats. So it's having that compromise between good build quality, longevity of materials, and it looking nice, which, to be honest, I think Ford have done. Oh, there's that pull-off noise. Isn't it lovely? So the exterior options on this car, you've got a couple of choices for the cab. There is a hardtop windowed colour-coded version, which is £2,000, which is a bit steep, but it's the same sort of price as your other manufacturers, but it does give you a lot more internal load space then than just having an open top cab. There's also a lockable roll top for £1,150, which is personally the option I will go for, because it still gives you the pickup look, but it also gives you a bit more security and saves some bugger running off with your strimmer. So interior options on this car, he says, well, he's about to quote a camera, but the rear view camera is £250 and front parking sensors are £200. Optional extras of satellite navigation at £380 on this vehicle, which is fitted. There's also a driver assistance pack for £1,120, which gives you auto high beam, lane keep assist and cruise control. So a couple of things I'd like to point out on this car that I found whilst driving it is the dash is really nice compared to the Focus that we had the other day, which seemed to have quite a basic dash in it. You've got two LCDs, if I show a picture up of that now, on the left and the right, and it gives you phone control, navigation control and entertainment control on the left hand side, and it also gives you your fuel and temperature, distance to empty and MPG on the right, which is quite good, and a big old speed dial in the middle. This being an automatic and only having an automatic variant, it's completely pointless having a rev counter, but there is an option to have a rev counter if you see fit. You just click on the right hand side and it brings up a rev counter dial. So this being the double cab, we have a lot more legroom in the back, more space for things like dogs and extra storage, but we do sacrifice then space in the cab itself. But there is an option of the super cab if you feel that the super cab is a better choice for you. If you don't need the legroom in the back and you need more loading space, there are multiple options that Ford can give you. So the brake pedal on this car, you're going to be thinking, what on earth is he on about with a brake pedal? But again, bear with me. There's so much travel on this brake pedal that it gives you a real good ability to be precise with your braking. So I've driven a couple of commercial vehicles before and it seems to have like an inch worth of travel, and halfway through it just locks the ABS on. So the 12 inches of brake pedal that they give you are all usable. It doesn't lock up at like 7 inches and then just decide, oh, I'm going to put the ABS on because that's a full extent of travel. It's all usable. The brakes are good. The car does stop fairly quickly for a big heavy car, so I'm quite impressed with that, and I can imagine that the brake being so usable would give you confidence whilst towing something to make sure that it doesn't force you into a hedge, and you can put the brakes on and know when you're going to get lock up and when the ABS is going to kick in. So good job by the Ford guys. So unfortunately, I spent the past 35 minutes rambling to the camera and I've got no bloody idea where I am. So I'm going to have to pull over and slap the sat-nav on and find my way home. But when we do that, I'm going to talk about the buttons, and this is a commercial vehicle, and the downsides and the positives as to what Ford have done. So Ford have designed the heating control buttons to be nice and big and nice and usable, the same as the gear lever, and all the four-wheel drive buttons are all usable while wearing gloves, which is great. Nice big chunky steering wheel, nice big chunky controls for you to look at your fuel economy and change whether you're in entertainment, navigation or phone on the LCD displays. Brilliant. But then they've gone and fitted the world's smallest volume controls and the world's smallest cruise control buttons. Now the volume controls aren't an issue because there's a huge dial that you can use anyway, but the cruise control buttons are pretty much useless if you're using it in the winter with gloves. Now they could offset that by having a heated steering wheel where you get in the car, you bodge on your heated steering wheel and take your gloves off, or probably the other order. So it seems a bit contradictory to me that they've got the dash and the control for all the heated seats and all the climate control as massive buttons, and on the steering wheel there's these really minuscule switches and buttons. Would have made more sense if they'd have had a stalk, because then you could use that with gloves, or as I said, put the heated steering wheel on. So a friend of mine at work has got one of these and has had one for a couple of years now, and he loves it. He raves about it. It's the best car he's ever had. However, the lights are appalling. So I took it out for a drive last night, and unfortunately they're not wrong. There is no option on this car through Ford to spec LED or xenon lights. They're normal halogens and they're not the best. The full beam, however, is completely the other side of the coin. Full beam, if somebody was stood in front of you, you're going to burn the retinas out. So the full beam definitely makes up for the poor quality of the normal running lights. However, on a car this price and a car this spec, and it's 2018 now, we're getting LED lights on even budget Fiestas and Nissan Micras. You would expect them to have put it on a vehicle like this. The point being that if you're driving regularly and you're using this as an everyday commuter car over the winter, you're going to get an awful lot of sludge off the roads, all the salt coming up onto the front of the car, which is going to make the visibility of the lights even worse. So it's a bit of a shame about the lights. If they'd have fitted LEDs, great. Even if it was an optional extra, that'd make things a bit better. So as per usual, we're going to go through 3 pros and 3 cons of the car. So 3 cons on the car, the lights have got to be one. Not being able to spec up LEDs or xenon optional extras on this is a little bit of a disappointment for me, to be honest. The heated steering wheel not being an option as well on a car that is like this, that is going to be used in the winter and you're going to get cold doing your various sporting activities. It would be nice to have a heated steering wheel as well, and on that note, the heated seat at the back would be good. Thirdly, which is one I haven't spoke about, is the armrest. So driver comfort's really, really good, and I know this comes down to seating position and is different for every person, but the armrest is about 6 inches too far away. It'd be nice if it slid forwards. Having an armrest isn't something essential, obviously, but on long miles, which you're going to be doing in a car like this, the right arm's nice and cushioned and it's comfortable and you can hold onto the wheel, but your left arm doesn't really know what it's doing. So either having an armrest or being able to slide that centre console forward would be nice. So the 3 pros in this car that I didn't think would end up on the list, to be honest with you, are economy. This car has just got shy of 40 mile a gallon, so it's in 39.2 mpg, which for me, for a 2.2 tonne car that is 2.2 litres of turbo diesel power, is pretty impressive. Because its aerodynamics are basically a brick, it's not designed to be economical from what you can see from the front of it. It's a pretty impressive figure from a car that you can then clearly use day in, day out. Secondly is ride comfort. I genuinely didn't believe, with no weight over the back end, yes, you've got the diff over the back wheels, but that's about it, that you would end up with the comfort that the car actually gives you. Great ride quality, very, very good over bumps, and pretty damn good on motorway drives as well, to be honest. It's nowhere near as jiggly, shall we say, as I thought it was going to be. The suspension's firm, but it's not intrusive, and it's soft when it needs to be, but it doesn't boat you around and make you feel sick. So that was a really nice one. Thirdly is load space, evidently being really nice. Internal space is great with the legroom with the double cab, and the build quality of this car I think is fantastic. So for what you're paying for it, yes, the 28 grand you need to put the VNT on top of, so you're looking at nearly, so that work out as £5,600 on top. So you're looking at £34,000 for this car, but for that price, the build quality is really good. It's going to last you, it's going to give you bulletproof reliability, and the internals of the car, considering it is a truck, are quite nice. As I said earlier in the video, you can kind of forget that you're driving a truck, and you can think that you're just driving a big SUV sort of style vehicle, or a big Cougar or a Ford Edge. You do end up getting fooled and pulled into a false sense of security that you're in a car that's smaller than it is, and that's why the wing mirrors catch you out, like I said earlier. So I looked at some comparisons for prices on this car, and we looked at the Nissan Navara and the Toyota Hilux. Now, this car is spec'd at 28,175 exclusive of VAT, as I said earlier. The Navara and the Hilux are two of the sort of competitors that I will put this up against, and the price was pretty much on the money for the three of them. They were within a couple of £100 of each other because it's impossible to spec them up identical, but with the optional extra paint and the optional extra sat-nav and the tow bar, they come in with around £200 of each other. But either way, it's a really good car, and I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 rating because I've really enjoyed having this for a couple of days. Completely different to what I'm used to driving, obviously, with having the Fiesta ST. But yeah, I really, really like it, and it's something that I would generally consider buying if I was somebody who needed the extra space or needed to be able to tow things around or bring things from A to B that are more spacious requirements than my Fiesta can handle. I would be looking at something like this. So yeah, an interesting experience for me to drive this today, and a big thanks to Bristol Street Motors of Ford again for letting me have it. We've got another discount code coming on, which I'll just slap up on the, where are we, here, for you guys if you want to go in and have a look at a discount on one of these. Thanks very much for watching again, guys. Hope you have enjoyed, and see you again soon for a review video of the ST we're going to do next week, which is a 6,000 mile owner's review, which is going to be an interesting one. Take care, guys. Bye.